It can be whatever. We get into it. All right. First question up. Can a man walk on water without being saved by Jesus? Well, can a man walk on water without being saved by Jesus? Let's start here. Anybody in here know how to swim? Or maybe here's a better question. Is there anybody in here that does not know how to swim? Hold on. I think some of y'all raised your hand for both of them. I know how to swim and I don't know how to swim. Wait. Hold on. I got to see that again. Does anybody in here know how to swim? I know how. I took swimming lessons, but they didn't work. All right. You can put your hands down. Anybody in here, you don't know how to swim? Okay. All right. Here's an interesting thing as we kind of delve into this question. Did Peter know how to swim? I mean, I'm looking over here to my biblical scholars. Did Peter know how to swim? Okay, so this question, this question, let me read it to make sure I get it right. Can a man walk on water without being saved by Jesus? So what we have is a question that stems from a very popular biblical story of when the disciples are on a boat. As a matter of fact, if you want to find it, it's somewhere around Matthew chapter 14, Mark chapter 6, verse 45 through 52, and John chapter 6, verse 16 through 21. It's interesting that John has it in there too, because John didn't have all of the miracles like everybody else. But the walking on water is a miracle of miracles. It is known by even people that don't believe in Jesus. I have not been in church. It is if you were ranking miracles in terms of probably popularity, I figured that one's got to be in the top 3, right? What other ones do you think might be in the top 3? It's opinion, y'all. There is no top 3 miracles. You had to be like, I don't know. It's just, what miracles do you think might be in the top 3? Because for me, the walking on the water is probably in that top 3. Hold on. What's this one over? Jonah in the whale, in the great fish. That's definitely one. But if we go to the Gospels, if we confine it to the Gospels, because Jonah is definitely one. But if we confine it to just the Gospels, if we could, and for the sake of this Bible study discussion, the Gospels are the first 4 books of New Testament. The Gospels, we call it the Gospel because it means the good news of the life of Jesus Christ, the life and sacrifice of Jesus Christ. Those Gospels it starts out with Matthew, then it goes to Mark, then it goes to Luke, then it goes to Keith. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Keith, right? Those are the 4 Gospels. I'm seeing if y'all paying attention. You never heard anybody read from the Gospel of Keith? All right, so Matthew, he had a Gospel of Keith Sweat. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Now, Lazarus, yeah, that the top 3 were more likely, yes, ma'am. Water in the wine, you got that right. Yes, sir. Feeding the thousands because, okay, I think there's a theme here. But let me see. One more. I want anybody, one more miracle they want to say might be in top 3. Jesus being raised from the dead. Okay. All right. So let's take these. We have Lazarus, which shows absolute tremendous power. It is such an intricate story because it is talking about Jesus has a friend who dies and he didn't even go see about him for days. Mary and what's Mary's sister's name? Martha. And they say, Jesus, if you would have come. So that's definitely one. Water in the wine. Come on. That's self-explanatory. Why people know that one. That's self-explanatory. I don't think we really need to get into that. We already know. We already know. Anytime I preach about wine or wine skins or water being turned into wine, the whole congregation get tight. I don't really understand why. But and then there was the feeding of the thousands with 2 pieces of fish and 5 loaves of bread, which I think church people love that one as well because we love a good fish fry. So here are some top miracles. Now, we don't know if Peter knew how to swim or not. We can assume because what was Peter's job when Jesus called him? He was a fisherman. So you'd be hard-pressed to think somebody that grew up with an ability and a job of fishing, spent his time on the water, and didn't know how to fish. But that's what you call an educated guess. Wait, no. He swam. Wait a minute. He swam. Anybody remember when? After Jesus is crucified. Peter tells his disciples, I go a-fishing. And he goes out, and some of the disciples go with him. And that morning, Jesus is on shore. They don't know it's Jesus. And Jesus says, hey, this is how you catch some fish. Gives them instruction how to catch fish. They have so much fish, they can't pull all the fish into their boat. Somebody else, because their boat is about to tip over, somebody else has to come and help them pull all of the fish up. And Peter recognizes that's Jesus. And he jumps in the water and swims to shore. So let's understand this question from that context then. That this question comes from one of the most notarized, known miracles in the entirety of the Bible and really just in the history of man. Peter walked on water. Jesus went up to a mountain. When Jesus went up to the mountain, the disciples are already on the water. When the disciples are already on the water, Jesus comes walking, and it's in the middle of a storm. It's kind of, did y'all see that, the video that's out of people on the cruise ship? And it was a storm. And I think it was the last day of the cruise, too. Oh, I got ahead of myself. I didn't even do Wednesday's word. All right, maybe I'll circle back to it later. But I've never been on the water in the middle of a storm. It looks terrifying. Any of y'all ever been on the water in the middle of a storm? Yeah, Brother Davis, I should have figured it was you. So got a couple over here, a couple over there. Is it as terrifying as it looks? It looks terrifying. Now, I know brothers ain't supposed to be scared of anything, but I don't want no parts of that. So now we have even more context. The disciples are on a boat. There is a storm. Jesus comes walking in the midst of all of the wind and the waves and the crashing. They think Jesus is a ghost. Peter says, no, that's Jesus. Let me come out and walk on the water with you. Because remember, Jesus is walking on the water. Now Peter wants to walk on the water. So Peter walks on the water. And he's walking on the water fine, right? Until he takes his eyes off Jesus. And then when he takes his eyes off Jesus, what happens? He sinks. And the Bible says he cries out. And one of my favorite parts right there of the whole story, it says, and immediately Jesus called him, pulled him back up, walked him back to the ship. They got in. Then the storm is calm. Now we have the context for this question. Can a man or person walk on water that isn't saved, therefore does not believe in Jesus? Here is the context that we have to understand this in. I've never seen anybody walk on water. I've seen people swim, but I've never seen anybody walk on water. The only reason we know of anybody ever walking on water is because of Jesus. So to think you can do a miracle that only happens because of Jesus, absent of Jesus, ain't going to happen. Because the only reason it's happening in the first place is because of Jesus. So I don't think you can do a miracle that requires Jesus without Jesus. That's like thinking you can do something that requires money and you're broke. You ain't. The very thing that created it cannot then be taken from it. The only reason it exists is because of Jesus, and if you take him out of the equation, it can't happen. That is the very thing that happened to Peter. He took his eyes off Jesus, therefore the miracle was not possible. So if the only way the miracle is possible is to keep my eye on Jesus, there's no way I can do the miracle absent of Jesus. A lot of times people try to figure out a way to get God's blessings without having to have a relationship with God. Or they want a way to get the benefits of Jesus without having to actually have a relationship with Jesus. Doesn't work that way. If you want the benefits of Jesus, you have to have a relationship with Jesus. All right, so that's that question. I enjoy,